right, guys, so pool session today. So pool being, predominantly back, pretty much the entire back, and then also having some rear delts and biceps in there as well too. And again, as far as my split and Terrence's split goes, we're condensing a little bit more stuff. So it's kind of similar to our previous split. Previous split was 5 days with 2 off days. Now we're going to 4 training days with 3 off days within a week. And so the goal is obviously Terrence is trying to continue to put on some more size. We'd really love to have a solid 6 to 8 pounds over the next year or so. I think would be great. And so we're really trying to prioritize even a little bit more recovery. I mean, we know that our training stimulus is high. We were training hard. So I'm going to see how it goes with an extra off day for Terrence. So a little bit more stuff on a given day. And then we still have basically a dedicated arm day as well too. Still, Terrence is pretty much priority body part. But overall, still just a little bit more size on the upper body relative to the lower, although he's pretty well matched. So for sequence, really thinking about back, you break it up until lats, so more lat stuff, more upper back stuff, which is going to be more traps and rhomboids, and then a little bit of erector stuff as well too. Obviously, there's a whole bunch in there as well too. We got rear delts, you got some rotator cuff muscles you can see on your back. So the first movement we prioritize is lat, so kind of the biggest bang for the buck, a lat exercise, single arm pull down. And the reason we like that is just a lot of range of motion. We're lucky to have a machine that has a good loading pattern, a good profile. And so sequence for everything today is basically 2 working sets. So basically just a top set there, 5 to 8 rep range, and then a back off set there and somewhere around the 8 to 12. And that's pretty similar rep range for everything. So really prioritizing lats there first, train the lat through near their full contractile range, and then going for more of an upper back movement. So chest supported T-bar row is always going to be one of my favorites for upper back. And the focus there is just how much range of motion can we have that shoulder blades or scapula going through. And of course, rear delts are involved there as well too. Rear delts are probably the main mover of the upper arm. So same 2 working sets there. And then we go to more of kind of a lat biasing row. And so again, you really can't isolate anything, but when we have these really flared elbows for the T-bar, that's much more conducive for upper back. And so when we go a little bit more tucked for the next row, it's a little bit more lat focused. And again, I just think for the nature of lats, the nature of back, it's good to have 2 different row movements, even if it's not in the same workout over some period of time. 1 more for upper back, 1 more for a little bit more lat focus, realizing both parts of the main musculature are still working on either one. And then today we also did a low back extension. So again, blocking the hips on that one is a great way to make sure it's more of a low back extension, not a hip extension, where if I had the pad lower, so my pelvis could actually rotate over the top of the pad, that would be better maybe for hamstrings or for glutes, but I literally put the pad higher so my pelvis can't move. So any motion is coming from spinal flexion, spinal extension. Really just did 1 working set there. Really keeping the volume minimal there because we're going to have RDLs as a big movement on our lower body day. And that's going to be 2 full days from now. So basically, I really want to see how recovered, no, 3 full days. So make sure that the low back's not sore coming into that leg day, coming into RDLs first as well too. So really just did 1 working set there just to kind of see how it feels, see how our performance is when we come into leg day. And then from there, we went to rear delts and we had biceps. And so we superset those just basically to save time because neither of them really took away from the performance of the other. So just a reverse pec deck is kind of my main favorite meat and potatoes always for rear delts. And then doing an incline cable bicep curl. I'll call it an incline curl because it's similar like you would be an incline curl with dumbbells. And I love that one because one, I think it's just a very stable position. Having the back pad, you can set up the cable. So again, it's a good loading pattern, good profile. And it also loads the biceps in the fully lengthened position. So you really need that arm extended behind you a little bit to get those biceps fully lengthened and have that elbow fully extended. So superset both of those back and forth. And basically, again, 2 working sets of each. Actually, I believe I did 3 working sets on the biceps. And on the biceps, coming off of our back off sets, did 2 little drop sets just with a pronated grip curl as well too. So that's something we probably won't logbook or track, but that's a quick, easy way that I'll incorporate a little bit more volume, a little bit more effective volume sometimes, is with the superset that biases a muscle a little bit different. So with the standard curl, you're just basically getting a little bit more bicep. That pronated grip, arguably you're getting a little bit more brachioradialis, doing some work there as well too. So worth just incorporating in your programming somewhere. And again, in my opinion, that's an easy way to keep it in, is right after kind of my meat and potatoes track stuff, just incorporate it as a superset coming right off of those sets. So just 2 supersets finishing with that. And that was really our only supersets of the day. Again, aside from the rear delt and the bicep to save time. So again, right now in our training, a lot of straight sets, a lot of setting our baseline, getting kind of the starting points for the logbook and just build upon it from there. Like I've said in a couple other videos, as we progress over the next couple of weeks and months or so, I might incorporate a little bit more metabolic work, a little bit more pump work, just depending on how Terrence's recovery is. And again, just see how his body's responding. So That is it. Pool day. As always, if you appreciate the workout, don't forget to comment below, give me your feedback, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Until the next one. So two things that you guys can do to have a very good lat pull down motion that you can do pretty much anywhere. Realize a lot about lat training is trying to get the lats to do the most work and trying to put other muscles in a position where maybe they can't do as much work. Because basically a lot of muscles can pull your upper arm towards your body. In general, you know, the more you're coming from out here to in your side, the more other stuff can work. The more you're kind of in this plane, so literally this is a really good plane of motion for letting your lats do most of the work. The more you're in that plane, again, the more lats are gonna do some more work and hopefully have other stuff do a little bit less. So realize this plane is great even before you think exercise. So just again, do this, practice this. Okay, here's this plane of motion. This is a pretty full range for my lats. What matches that? Two things that you guys can do. One to match that is just go single arm. So again, not everybody has this exact machine. People are like, oh, I don't have that machine, what do I do? Just find something single arm. So it could be another pull down machine. Just try and figure out where this plane of motion is going to line up. So sometimes in the machine you might have to slide one direction more than the other just to have things line up well. Or when in doubt, if you don't have this, just use a cable. Because again, with a single arm cable, it's very easy to have everything line up. So with lats, half the battle is just making it line up well. And then a second thing you can do pretty much anywhere is use the little thigh pads. So again, whether it's on a machine or it's within the cable, and actively push up into this. So again, if your butt's lifting up and down, as you pull, your body moves up and down at all, that's force that's not getting to your lats, it's getting lost along the way. So you'll notice when I'm going the whole time, smashing my thigh up into this pad, trying to keep my body locked and still. So the second this handle moves, the only thing really moving basically is my lat pulling on my upper arm, going my scapula, pulling it all down. And so again, just a couple really easy tips for you guys to get the most out of your lats, again, regardless of the setup or regardless of the piece of equipment. On the last little tip that I'll do is you're going single arm, it generally frees up your other hand. So I always like to put my hand kind of right at the lower portion of my lats, just so I'm not accidentally in other tissue up here. It's a little bit hard to reach around here too. But again, even if you don't have the best lat insertion, you have high lats, you'll still be able to feel your lat tendon when you reach low here. So if you're pulling and actually contracting your lats, you should be able to feel that lat tendon getting tight, and then obviously some of the muscle belly depending on your structure as well too. So those are the things you'll see regardless of the machine that I'm on. Get it lined up well, use this pad to keep my body still. And again, just for a little bit of a feedback, it's not magical, it's not gonna make that muscle work perfectly. But again, if you just feel like your lat's just sitting there hanging there loose and flaccid as you're pulling down, obviously something else isn't working. But if the entire time when you contract, you really feel it tense up and you feel it staying tight the whole way through the concentric eccentric, then it's a good sign that at least your lat's doing something. All right guys, one of the best tips I can give if you're doing more of an upper back row is realize what you're trying to train. You're trying to train mainly traps, rhomboids, the stuff that moves your shoulder blades. So realize obviously when you're rowing, as far as your upper arm moving is concerned, that's not traps. You know, you're gonna have to have some rear delts involved, maybe a little bit of lats, some rotator cuff stuff. So if you're trying to get as much upper back as possible, visualize what you want your shoulder blades to do. And even take some time to practice that. So I'll literally sometimes close my eyes, whether you put your hands here or here, literally just feel you're moving your shoulder blades over and across your rib cage. And so this stuff might seem kind of tedious, but if you can just visualize again, your scapula is just a bone, sits right over top your rib cage. I mean, it attaches to some stuff over here by your clavicle, but essentially floats. So it literally just glides or floats over your rib cage. So take some time to actually have some good connection to just that feeling. Gain some body awareness. It's a tougher body part for some people. One, you can't see it. It's on the back of your body. And the reality too is it doesn't have this massive range of motion. Like if you're looking, obviously your hand moving in space, covers a large distance. Your shoulder blades are only gonna move a few inches over your rib cage. So take some time, connect to that, and then realize when you're rowing, that's the main thing you're focusing on. How much can you get them to stretch forward and protract when you're coming through the eccentric? How far can you get them to retract back and pull together when you're coming through the concentric? And really that's when I gauge my set's done. It's not about how much I can move my arms, how much I can move this up and down. And in reality, even worse is some people don't think about their shoulder blades at all. So again, if your shoulder blades are just kind of still and you're just moving your arms, realize it's probably a lot more of like a rear delt exercise or something at that point in time. Of course, traps, rhomboids have to work just to keep your shoulder blades still, but not nearly as much as they would if they were going through full contractile range. So just something to think about next time you're doing an upper back row. Get connected and get some awareness of where your shoulder blades are at and keep the focus on that the entire time you're actually doing warm up and working sets.